Hi, and thank you for being here. I'm going to get you to start by closing your eyes and imagine with me. It's 1 a.m. on a Thursday night. You finally get your work wrapped up for the day. You stagger to bed, completely exhausted from the day, knowing it's going to be a short sleep because you have to get an early start on your to-do list for tomorrow. You finally settle your brain enough to drift off to sleep, only to be startled awake an hour later, freaking out at the thought that you have to pick up material and supplies for your project on Monday and you forgot to make your credit card payment. And you don't know if there's enough space on there to cover what you need. And you also don't know if you have cash in the bank to cover what you need. And then you start running through all the invoices that are outstanding that you may possibly be able to collect to keep you going through the next few days. And as much as you try to go back to sleep, one uncertain thought runs into the next, leaving you only half able to rest for your already shortened night. You get up the next morning even more exhausted than when you went to bed and dash to the computer to check the balance on your accounts to see how you can pull this all together. And then you get a text from your biggest customer that they need to see you today about an outstanding issue on a project that you need to get resolved today. And you sigh. Hi, I'm Coralee Beatty, and I'm a business coach and consultant for women in construction. I started in the construction industry over 25 years ago. The first 10 years was as a building envelope consultant for a multinational engineering firm before I moved on to work full-time with my husband in our mechanical contracting business that we started. I owned that business for 15 years and we sold it almost 5 years ago now. Now I help other women business owners in trades and construction to organize their business for greater profitability, flexibility, and freedom. I also help women that want to start a construction or trades business do so on the right foot from the beginning so it doesn't take over their life and make them crazy, like mine did. And this cute little story that I shared with you was me in my trades business for several challenging years. There were so many sleepless nights wondering, is the money going to be there? Am I going to be able to cover our expenses? Can I get the supplies? Where's my credit card at? And is my statement going to fit on there? Like, it was just constant questioning every day where the money was coming from, where it was going to, and how was it going to get there? And it only grew exponentially when we took on employees. So if you don't yet have a team, I think you are in a great position to put a lot of things in place that will help you make it a lot less overwhelming when you do get to the point of taking on employees. When we hired our first business coach, that was the point at which I was able to get my money sorted out. It was the point at which I was able to take control of my money because they helped guide me through the things that I needed to have in place in order to track the performance and understand what was happening in my business so that I could make the changes where I needed to. So when we got our money right, that was one of the major steps in putting us in a position to sell our business. So whether you are working alone or already have employees, if you can identify with this story, by the end of this webinar, you will have the confidence to take the first steps toward taking control of your finances and getting a full night's sleep. In the next 17 minutes or so, we're going to review how to determine the financial maturity of your business. We're going to discuss collecting relevant data to give you meaningful information about the performance of your business. We're going to dig into the profit and loss statement. And we're going to give you some actionable steps that you can take today to gain control over the money in your business. There's a workbook that accompanies this video. So if you haven't yet done so, I would suggest that you pause here, print it out, and follow along as we go. Although your financials may be about the least sexy thing about running a construction business, especially if you're not a numbers person, it's also one of the most important things to understand and stay on top of to run a successful business. So before we jump in here, I'm just going to declare that I am not an accountant. Everything I know and that I share with you here today is from many years of figuring it out as I went. And believe me, there were some really hard lessons. And so I'm hopeful that by you being here and watching this, you can avoid some of those mistakes that I made. I don't give you any accounting advice. I say go to your accountant. I refer you to your accountant to get any of that. We're going to start with a brief discussion of the basics of banking for your construction business and get the sense of the condition of your financial system. You can find this information on the first page of your workbook. And although some of this may seem really basic, it's the starting point because I made a lot of these mistakes, and it's very common with the people I work with. So I don't want to assume anything. I'd rather it be review for some people, and maybe you can pick up a few tips or tricks along the way so that others can learn from the beginning. So we're just going to go over page 1 of the workbook quickly here. It'll take quite a bit of time to go through each question, but basically at the end of this, it's a yes/no check. 18 questions, yes or no. And if you have all yeses, you're in great shape, and you probably already have a good handle on the financials in your business. If you have a few no's or all no's, looks like you probably have some work to do. However, the great news is you'll get a lot of this information from this video, and these are all really relatively easy steps to put into place. So don't feel overwhelmed and don't feel defeated, because these are really basics that you can put into place quickly. If you don't already use an accounting software program, I do recommend that you get one as soon as possible. It will make everything so much easier and manageable for you, especially if you don't like doing the books. It'll make everything run a lot more efficiently and will save you a ton of time so that you can actually focus on doing the things that make you money and that you actually love to do. So there will be a little bit of a learning curve, but that's the same with anything that you're starting new. And it's well worth the investment if you get help from somebody to get you through it, because it will be a difference maker, especially as you try to grow your business. The reason I start with recommending you get your software in place as soon as you can is because that's what will help you collect and report data that is necessary to know what your business is doing. It is critical to collect data that helps you determine the performance of your business. The right information will help you make decisions about the work you do, how you do it, where and when you'll spend money, and where and when you won't. And when you track your numbers and review them on a regular basis, you'll get a better understanding of the performance of your business and learn how to increase your profitability based on the data and not just on a hope and a prayer. This data that you collect is referred to as your key performance indicators, or your KPIs as they're also known. The KPIs you measure will depend on the type of business you have and the goals that you have for yourself. Common KPIs for trades or construction businesses are cash flow. That's a really big one. That's something you want to be really familiar with on almost daily basis. You want your revenue, profit, the number of sales calls you make, the average job size, your conversion rate, average revenue per employee. This is just to name a few. And again, it does depend on what your goals are in your business as to which ones you'll choose. Determine what the key performance indicators are for your business by defining your goals, and determine what information you need to track the progress of that goal. Not all data is useful, so as you define your goals and determine this information you need, put the processes in place to track and record the data accurately. When you can track and record the data properly, it will show where you lack efficiencies or where you're performing poorly, and that allows you to make adjustments as necessary to improve your profitability. It will guide you in making informed decisions about the direction of your business. And on the other hand, the numbers will also show you where you're performing well, and then you can take that information and apply it to other areas of your business. If you don't track your business and track your numbers, you'll have a hard time knowing where you are in business at any given point, and you'll continue to make decisions blindly. You can't manage what you don't measure. After you have identified what your key performance indicators are for your goals, next what we'll do is shift into where some of the data will be reported, the profit and loss statement. Your chart of accounts is a list of all your accounts, from your revenue types, your expense types, assets and liabilities, your banks, credit cards, but also your vehicles, your equipment, advertising, labor, material, everything. This is the source list of the line items you report on. Your profit and loss statement reports all your income streams, all your cost of goods sold, or your COGS, as they're also known, related to your income streams, and all the expenses in your business. And the bottom line is your net profit. You want to break down your accounts as much as possible so the data on your reports is useful. The more useful data you track, the easier it is to know the performance of your company and where changes are necessary to improve your bottom line. The default chart of accounts on your accounting program is not adequate. It is not adequate to give you the level of detail you need to understand what's happening in your business. We'll go over the profit and loss statement section by section, and we'll start at the top with revenue. Revenue is all the money you bring in related to your regular operations, and will include things like rebates, recurring revenue, deposits, and of course the regular revenue associated with the work that you do. Each have their own line item. If you do commercial and residential construction, break them out as they are very different types of work and should be reported separately. What we're looking at here is a sample section of a profit and loss statement. This is the income portion only. On the left-hand side, what we're looking at is the profit and loss that is generated from a default chart of accounts. And on the right-hand side, we're looking at a profit and loss that is generated from a customized chart of accounts. As you can see on the left-hand side, there is one line item for income, and that's called construction. On the right-hand side, we're looking at several line items related to different components of the work that this company does. As you can see, the story you get is much different between one line item of your income versus multiple line items of your income. On page 2 of your workbook, there is a place where you can do a little bit of work to list your sources of revenue to make sure that they're showing up as separate line items on your profit and loss statement. The next section that we're going to go into is your costs of goods sold, or also known as your COGS. This is the cost to do your work that you are reimbursed for from your client and typically fall into one of 4 main categories: labor, material, subcontractor, and equipment. We also had line items for things like permits and rentals because they didn't fall into the other categories, how we used the other categories. So you can certainly have other line items there as they apply to your business. And your cost of goods sold should coincide with your streams of income. If you have residential construction and commercial construction as separate streams of income, you should also have labor, material, subcontractors, and equipment related to each one. As you can see on this picture that is on the screen now, the default chart of accounts on the left-hand side only has one line item called reimbursed expenses. On the other side, however, what you see is a very detailed list of many different line items of how your costs break down for the work that you do. This is what you want to see. You want to be able to break it down so you know where the money is going. You want to be able to see this information. Having one line item called reimbursed expenses is not giving you anything. You can't analyze that. You can't do anything with it. You can take a few minutes now and press pause, or you can do this at a later time. Either way, what you want to do is just write out a list of all of the costs that you have associated with the work that you do that you get reimbursed for. And then again, you want to make sure that each one of those things shows up as a line item on your profit and loss statement. The final part of your profit and loss statement are your expenses, things that are not directly reimbursed from your clients. These are the things that are your overhead or your operating costs, and includes things like your office staff whose time is not billed to a customer, your office expenses such as rent or utilities, your WorkSafe premiums, vehicles, fuel, among many other things. So as you can see from what I'm showing you here on the screen is, again, on the left-hand side is the default list of expenses, and on the right-hand side over 2 columns is the expenses of a customized chart of accounts. On the default one, there's certainly more line items than what we've seen on the other 2 categories. However, still not enough to really get a sense of where you're spending your money. And things like advertising, you want to break it down because there are so many different platforms and areas where you can spend advertising. You want to be able to compare and see where you're spending the money and are you getting your return on investment for that. You want to break each component down as much as possible to get the information that you need to know where your money is being spent. So those are the three components of your profit and loss statement: your revenue, your cost of goods sold, and your expenses. And all of that gets reported to show you what your net profit is within the period of time that you are running that report. Attached to the back of the workbook is a sample list of expenses. So you can take a few minutes, again, either now or later, to write out a list on page 4 of your workbook of the expenses in your business that you need to be tracking. And again, make sure there's a line item for each one of those things in your chart of accounts. So what we have done here is gone through to identify the information you need to know to make well-informed decisions about your business. And although the profit and loss does not tell you the whole story, it will arm you with the information that directly impacts your bottom line. Where are you spending the money and where things need to be changed? It brings awareness to what spending makes up your bottom line, and awareness is the first step to change. From here, I recommend the first thing you do after you finish your workbook is give that information either to your bookkeeper or for yourself to go update your chart of accounts to reflect the details of your business so you can start tracking your data and be empowered to take control of the money in your business. As I wrap up, I would like to leave you with a few book recommendations that have been incredibly helpful for me over the years. The very first book that I read on business was The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It talks about the different minds that you need to have to contribute to the success of a business. And those are the entrepreneur's mind, the manager's mind, and the craftsperson mind, and how all of these things, all of these three need to work together to run a successful business. There's the one that I've read recently is The E-Myth Revisited. It's an updated version. I like using the Profit First method to accounting and recommend you read the book Profit First for Contractors. It's an extension of the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. This Profit First for Contractors is written by Sean Van Dyke. It really helps you to understand your money, how to set up your accounts, and this is not your chart of accounts so much as it is your bank accounts, and how to allocate your money to make sure that you're meeting the profit that you desire. I think it is a great book and really helpful in getting you in the right mindset to be making profit. Another book that I recommend is Traction by Gino Wickman. It's another great book. He talks about the EOS, which is the entrepreneurial operating system, and he breaks it down into 6 key components that you need to pay attention to in the running of your business. Another book by Mike Michalowicz, which I really think is valuable, is called Clockwork. It's a great book on organizing your business and putting your systems in place so it can run like a well-oiled machine, and that's the thing that I really, really enjoy. And finally, I will take this opportunity to recommend my own book, which I recently published, called Hiring Secrets for Trades and Construction. It's all about finding, hiring, and retaining top talent in your industry. And whether you currently have employees or not, the information is useful to know now if you plan to hire people in the future. So my book is available through my website at thrivehq.ca. And if you'd like to dive deeper into this part of your business, being your finances, or discuss any other part of your business that you are having a challenge with, I encourage you to visit my website at thrivehq.ca to schedule a free consultation. I'd love to take a look at some of your challenges and see where I can help you out. And if you are interested in joining an active community of women leaders and business owners in the construction industry for connecting, collaborating, and educating, you can learn more about the Elite Warrior Women community that I'm currently building, and that's also on my website, thrivehq.ca. Thank you all for watching, and I trust you picked up a few tips or tricks along the way that you can implement right away into your business that will help you feel more comfortable and confident with handling the money in your business. And hopefully you can sleep better at night. Thank you.